Glenumbra Lore, Part 1. A Warning to the Aldmeri Dominion by Estera Ligon. The overlords of the Aldmeri Dominion are hereby put on notice. Renounce your ambitions of aggression and return your islands and jungles, or the wrath of the Daggerfall Covenant shall fall upon you like a hammer of the divines. We are well aware that the Aldmeri plan nothing less than a return to the elven domination of the other races, particularly men and orcs. They wish to overturn the legacies of the First and Second Empires and wipe them from history. This we shall not allow. Never again will free men and orcs submit to the tyranny of elven oppression. The arrogant high elves of Somerset are clearly the driving force behind the Dominion. We of the Covenant have shown, through our acceptance of the Dureni, that we can live with the elves in peace, but Queen Iren insists on war. Her invasion of the continent of Tamriel is nothing but naked aggression. The Dominion has no territorial rights in Cyrodiil. If the Altmen do not return to Somerset, their invading armies will be destroyed. The Wood Elves and the Khajiit have traded with our Iliac Bay kingdoms for ages, but they've made a mistake in allying themselves with the perfidious Altmer of Somerset. Though we of the Covenant wish them no ill will, if they maintain their alliance with the Dominion, they will suffer the same fate at our hands as the High Elves. They must reconsider, or they must face our wrath. A Guide to the Daggerfall Covenant. The Daggerfall Covenant is a compact between the peoples of the northwest Tamriel, Bretons, Redguards, and Orcs, that forms an alliance of mutual defense, with a vision of establishing peace and order across Tamriel. Indeed, the kings of the Covenant take the Raymans as their model, claiming to be the spiritual heirs of the Second Empire. The Daggerfall Covenant was born in Second Era 542, when the kings of High Rock allied to repulse the invasion by a horde of Reachmen under the command of Durok, the Black Drake. Howling out of the eastern mountains, the Reach barbarians raised Evermore, besieged Wayrest, sacked Camlorn, and marched as far as the gates of Daggerfall before the Bretons finally stopped them. In the wake of Durok's defeat, the kings of Daggerfall, Wayrest, Camlorn, Evermore, and Shornhelm swore the so-called First Daggerfall Covenant, a solemn oath to defend each other's kingdom and to stand as one against all foreign foes. High Rock prospered as the Bretons rebuilt, especially after Second Era 561, when miners near Wayrest made the biggest orichalcum strike in recorded history. Emeric, Earl of the Domain of Cumberland, the site of the mines, proposed to use the resulting wealth to enhance Wayrest's fleet and improve trade throughout High Rock. King Gardner of Wayrest granted his approval, but before the fleet was completed, the dreaded Knaten flu swept through Wayrest and killed the entire Gardner royal household. Earl Emeric was elevated to the throne, and House Cumberland became the second royal dynasty of Wayrest. The new King Emery of Wayrest had been courting the daughter of King Rancer of Shornhelm, but in Second Era 566 he married Princess Mariah of Sentinel. This nearly brought down the First Covenant when Rancer, who felt betrayed, launched a surprise attack on Wayrest. The kings of Camlorn, Evermore, and Daggerfall all sided with Wayrest, and Emeric's superior diplomacy brought the armies of Sentinel into the fray to protect Emeric's queen. Furthermore, Emeric reached out to a great clan of Orcs in Hrothgar and offered them Orsinium in return for their aid. Shornhelm was defeated, and the Covenant was reborn, not as a mere Breton defensive pact, but as a new, multinational alliance. The conclave that negotiated the alliance lasted for months, with argument and debate at every turn. The final result was the child of King Emeric's vision, made manifest in dozens of compromises and carefully negotiated provisions. Freedom of trade was guaranteed throughout the region, and over the objections of the nobles of Rivenspire and the Crown, the Red Guards of Alakir, the Orcs were accepted as full members of the Alliance. Eventually, all city-states northwest of Tamriel swore fealty to the Covenant's Royal Council, presided over by High King Emmerich. As the architect of the Alliance, he claimed supreme leadership. So, this is the modern Daggerfall Covenant, an alliance of Red Guards of northern Hammerfell under King Faharajad, the Orcs of the mountainous northeast under King Korrig of Orsinium, with the Breton King Emmerich of High Rock presiding from his palace in Wayrest. At its best, it is a noble alliance of honorable and chivalrous people, representing all the best aspects of the First and Second Empires. And from this solid foundation, perhaps a third, even mightier empire shall arise, providing all the peoples of Tamriel the benefits of mutual respect, vigorous trade, and reverence for the divines. Schemes of the Reachmage by Gabrielle Benelli, Wizard. As the official Mages Guild representative to the Lion Guard's efforts to stop the Reachmage known only as Angolf the Gravesinger, I've decided to record my findings and speculations in case anything untoward happens to me while I'm out in the field. Who knew that the work of the Mages Guild could be so dangerous or so exciting? Anyway, this is an accurate and up-to-date at the time that I write this. Anything that turns out to be proven false or revealed at a later date, I'll have to deal with in the later volume. Unless I can devise a spell that automatically updates my writing? No, I need to focus on one thing at a time. Angolf has a number of associates helping him to complete his plans. I think he calls them minions? Let's review the ones I suspect to be working with this vile necromancer. Falochu, who seems to be associated with were-creatures, has launched an assault on Camlorn, appears to me to be following the orders of a more powerful individual. I believe that individual to be Angolf, but I have no proof of this connection as yet. The Bloodthorn cult obviously has ties to Angolf. Whether he leads the cult or is simply a member I haven't yet determined, but I'm positive that the two are connected. The cult scour the lands for relics and items of power, and they seem to count a large number of necromancers as part of their order. I wouldn't be surprised if they had ties to some Daedric prince or other, Moloch Baal if I had to hazard guess. Daedra, too, appear to be arrows in Angolf's quiver. He casts them out into the world as a farmer throws seeds into the wind. I'm sure there are more of Angolf's minions hiding out in plain sight, but anything else I put forth at this point would be beyond pure speculation. Instead, let me turn to what I have discovered about the Reachmage himself. First, he seems to be poisoning the land in some way. The vile vines that grow wherever he has passed demonstrate how his foul magic pollutes the countryside. His very name, Gravesinger, speaks to his fascination and fluency with death magic. Death and decay are his domains, and he seeks power over life and death. His followers consider him to be a strong and persuasive leader. Many of them would literally die to please him. Such devotion isn't healthy, and I find it more than a little scary that someone could have such an effect on people. Angolf seeks to cause as much chaos and mayhem as possible. Beyond that, I'm not sure of his ultimate motives. Has he come to Glenumbra to conquer us or to destroy us? And in the end, does that distinction even matter? All I know is that we have to find a way to stop him. We have to. Well, I'll have to pick this up again at a later date. Now I have to head out and meet up with the Lion Guard at the redoubt near Cathberod. Let's see if I can apply the knowledge that I've gathered to the task at hand. The Code of Mauloch. By the Code of Mauloch. I don't need you to guess how many times I've heard that oath made in some dingy tavern. Again and again some fellow sellsword with too much fire in him screamed those words at the top of his lungs. I'd be lying if I said the Orc strongholds don't take those words as law. There are few places where experience would tell you that tradition and the old ways make for a better fighter. But with Orcs, it seems like staying true to your ancestors is the path to victory. Let me start a few steps back. The Orc strongholds have existed as long as the Orc race has, or at least according to them. Orc strongholds are more than an armored camps. They're fortresses, Every man, woman, and child inside the walls is trained from birth to defend them. All their weapons and armor are smithed right there in the stronghold. All the food is hunted down by orc warriors and brought back to be eaten by the orcs who live there. Orcs follow no laws save their own, an unwritten set of rules called the Code of Mauloch, named after one of their gods, who's sometimes called Malakath. Most of it's pretty simple. Don't steal, don't kill, and don't attack people without reason, although there seems to be a big list of exceptions. Orcs in a stronghold don't have jails for their criminals. They have a blood price. You either pay enough in goods for your crimes, or you bleed enough that the victim is satisfied. And I don't need to tell you that orcs have a lot of blood. The code also sets up who runs the stronghold. The toughest male is usually the chief. He makes the decisions and decides when the Code of Mauloch has been satisfied. All the women are either the chief's wives or his daughters, with the exception of the wise woman, who handles all the spiritual matters and healing needs. Matters of grave dispute are handled with short but violent fights. Those who don't get along with the chief are usually forced out of the stronghold to live amongst the rest of us. An orc grows up being told to fight for everything. If something is not worth fighting for, then it's beneath the code. The orcs in a stronghold don't like strangers, used to living on their own like they do. We know about their homes because so many orcs leave their strongholds to become sellswords or soldiers, and a few pints of mead always gets them talking about home. I hear that sometimes, when an orc makes a non-orc a bloodkin, that person is allowed to live in the stronghold as one of the clan. Of course, I've never seen actual proof that's happened. For all their strange rules and traditions, the Code of Mauloch does breed a culture of determined warriors. They're focused in ways that the average sellsword isn't. They don't hesitate to draw weapons and settle matters openly. I think that's the real difference between the stronghold orcs and the city orcs. The lore allows you to settle fights through the constable's men, but the Code of Mauloch demands you settle the problems yourself. That's a fine way of thinking when you're leading a mercenary's life. The True Nature of Orcs, Banned Edition. Orcs were born during the latter days of the Dawn Era. History has mislabeled them the beast folk related to the goblin races, but the orcs are actually the children of Trinimac, strongest of the Aldmeri ancestor spirits. When Trinimac was eaten by the Daedric Prince Boethia and transformed into the foul god's insides, the orcs were transformed as well. The ancient name for orcs is Orcinema, which means the pariah folk. They now follow Mauloch, the remains of Trinimac. Who is Mauloch? He is more commonly known as the Daedric Prince Malakath, whose sphere is the patronage of the spurned and ostracized, the sworn oath and the bloody curse. He is not technically a Daedric lord, nor do the other Daedra recognize him as such, but this is fitting for his sphere. Of old he was Trinimac, the champion of the High Elf pantheon, in some places more popular than Auriel, who protected them against the enemies without and within. When Trinimac and his followers attempted to halt the Velothi dissident movement, Boethia ate him. Trinimac's body and spirit were corrupted, and he emerged as Malakath. His followers were likewise changed for the worse. Despised by everyone, especially the unvolleyed Auriel, they quickly fled north to the northern wastes near Sarthal. They fought Nords and Kaimer for a place in the world, but did not get much. In Skyrim, Malakath is called Orki, or Old Knocker, and his battles with Izmir are legendary. Directive. This vile anti-orc propaganda, though traditional, is now banned throughout the Daggerfall Covenant. Administrators, see to it. I hope you've been enjoying these lore readings, and if you have, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.